It's a wonderful, well, I say afternoon. As you can see, I'm indoors now. So it's evening. And you're very welcome. I thank you for joining me. Now, as promised, I said the next edition of video chats from my chat room, is going to be about the embarrassing moments part 2. This is what's planned. But just before I start that, last night, I'm just saying things that really annoy me or frustrate me. Last night, I'm reading a paper, one of the English papers, doesn't matter which paper it is, and I see that you've got to fill in, if you want to read some of the stories, the major stories. They only give you a few lines, and then you sort of got to pay so much a year. Do you know, airline tickets, anything that you fill in, these forms that you have to fill in, name, date of birth, password. Jesus, I tell you, last night, honest to God, I could have murdered someone. I'm filling this form in it, and halfway through it, up comes something saying, incorrect password. What do you mean incorrect? It's my password. I know what it is. I'm shouting at the newspaper. Anyway, I tried it about 6 times, 7 times, and eventually I see that I'm charged. I see on my Revolut thing, whatever, I'm charged. Wow, it worked. This morning I woke up, reading a major story. It says, please sign in. Sign in. I hate that. It annoys me intensely. One of the things annoy me, I tell you something, that if you're in a supermarket, okay, and you're in a hurry, and there's 2 people in front of you, one person's at checkout, but that person at checkout, either their child or their husband or something, is back getting something, and she's just saying, could you wait a moment? And I feel like saying, no, I can't wait a moment. You know what I mean? And then the husband comes running with a piece of bread or something and does it. That annoys me. Another thing that used to really aggravate me is when I was on the radio a lot and television. So I was more recognisable. I'm recognised now for my poached eggs. But sitting in a restaurant, you get some of the few jars on, and they'd come over to the table. He said, oh, Jesus, Morris, I have a great joke for your radio show. And he'd sit down, and I'd be there with Wendy and 2 friends. And he'd sit down and start telling me the joke. That used to drive Wendy mad. And you can't really say to someone, in my position, go away. Well, I suppose if you're Elton John, you could, but me, no. Or worse, if someone would come over and he'd lean over the table at me and say to me, I don't like your radio shows at all. I think they're awful. And I think you're very rude on the radio. And I know what's coming. I never listen. Well, I hardly ever listen. Now, I heard you with Jeffrey Archer, Lord Archer, the other day. I was appalled, he says, that this person represents a lot of people that used to sort of attack me verbally. Paul, you asked Lord Archer when he was in prison if he dropped the soap. If he dropped the soap in the shower, would he pick it up or would he kick it to the cell? Well, it was quite funny. Or the other thing he says, that you were taking the Michael out someone else and you're very rude when you're on the radio. And I never listened to it. And by the way, with Cliff Richard, you asked him, was he gay? I said, I never did. I said, so I'm trying to defend myself. And people, my friends are having dinners. I hardly see them anyway. That really aggravates me. Really. The other thing actually came to the fore today. You're sitting with someone, okay, a couple of you, and he takes out his tissue, not handkerchief now, a tissue, and he blows his nose in front of everyone. And listening to all that snot going into the tissue, honest to God, surely the right thing to do if you want to blow your nose is get up and walk away. But don't do it at the table. You never really probably think of that, but think of it. Anyway, just that. So let's go on to embarrassing moments, part 2. Now, yesterday, I sent a letter. Some of these you might have heard in part 1. This is just for people that don't, and then there's new ones. Actually, let's start with a new one. I've been in real estate some time now, as you know, 10, 11 years. Well, it's 10 years, to be honest with you. 10 and a half years, to be honest, to be really honest. And, I went to a job where I was asked to do FaceTime. Now, 7 years ago, whatever, I wasn't that au fait with technology. That might surprise you. So FaceTime. So somebody, just press that, there's FaceTime. So they can see in England. And so you walk around the house. And my client's in London, he said, have a look at the bathroom, have a look at the living room, there's the garden. FaceTime. So I went to do my very first FaceTime in Estepona to a beautiful villa. Got everything right. I rang the client. Are you there? Yes, I'm there. We're going. Press the button. So I'm walking. I said, this is the gate. Oh, look at that. Oh, isn't it a lovely gate? As Trump would say, possibly the best gate in Spain. Look at it, beautiful. And look at the way it opens automatically. Isn't that beautiful? And this is the drive. Look at this drive. Look at the way the pavings are done in the drive. Isn't that beautiful, isn't it? And well, I'm trying to sell. And look at the garden. And I hear him laughing. Why are you laughing? And he said, Maurice, can I give you a suggestion? Well, let me just first of all show this is the front door. No, can I give you a suggestion? I said, no, what would you like me to do? I'm filming. He said, you are filming. Oh, you're filming. You're on FaceTime. Yes, but it's your face. Turn the bloody camera around. I was walking, looking at the camera, and I'm saying, do you get it? There's a thing when you're doing FaceTime, you press a little thing on the screen and the lens goes out. So anyway, I was really embarrassed when I realised exactly what I was doing. The other one that was quite embarrassing, in real estate again, I went to a house. Now, there's a lesson here. When you get the keys to someone's house, please check and make sure there's no alarm in that house. I had this elderly couple, and I mean elderly couple, and this place was in Calahonda. It was an apartment, and you had to walk up 2 flights of stairs. But they knew this, and they always said to me, they said to me in the car when I said there's no lift, they said, well, this is what we like, is stairs. It's the only exercise we get. Oh, all right. The client's always right. We go up these 2 flights of stairs. Mind, it was a bit of puffing and panting getting up there. Open the door, and the next, bloody alarm. And I had no numbers or nothing. So then I saw some neighbours coming out. I said, we better get out of here. And before the police come, and neighbours, I said, it's okay, it's me, real estate, blah, blah. The alarm is ringing crazily. And I'm saying to them, come on, let's go. We don't want the police to come. And eventually we got into the car, puffing, panting really quick. And I drive away. The wife's sitting in the back and the husband in the front beside me. She starts hyperventilating. She's dying in the back of my car. And her husband says to me, please stop at the nearest shop and get her something with sugar, So we got a Fanta orange, and that seemed to... got embarrassing if she died in my car. I think she just got overstressed with the fuss, the alarm, the thought of the police. Embarrassing. The next one was a public embarrassment. When I say a public embarrassment, it was live on radio when I was in Las Vegas, in Caesar's Palace. And I was doing a show there, live from Caesar's Palace, back here to Spain. And I had Jay Leno I hadn't lined him up at all, but I had Jay Leno's telephone number because I interviewed him when I was here on the phone. I was interviewing Evel Knievel at the time. You know who he is. He's the one who... Well, the reason he was in Caesar's Palace, by the way, was a great honour for him. Harley Davidson had launched a new motorbike, the Evel Knievel edition, and he had autographed it because in Caesar's Palace many moons ago, he drove his motorbike through the famous fountains in the front of, I'm not laughing, in front of Caesar's Palace. And he went smash into the wall and broke every bone on his body practically. So that's what I was talking to him about, and the new Harley Davidson, which was beside us. Anyway, I said we were in a commercial break. I gave a piece of paper back to the producer. And those in Caesar's Palace, where we did the show, was in a bar that wasn't open during the day, but open at night. Okay? So they would put lots of seats out and people would come and watch the show. The reason, they didn't know who I was, but I would have guests like Gladys Knight, by Neil Sedaka, Paul Anka, these people, The Temptations, many, Buddy Greco, and they would come and watch the show. It's 11 in the morning, which I think was 9 in the evening here. So here I am, and then I hear the producers behind me saying, yes, Mr. Leno. Yes, Mr. Leno, we'll put you through, Mr. Leno. It's Maurice Boland, Mr. Leno. And I'm going, hey, look at the audience. Are they impressed? At that time, Jay Leno was the biggest star on television, talk show. He took over from Johnny Carson, if you remember. So it was the biggest talk show on television then. So Jay Leno. And anyway, the guy's waving at me to tell me Jay's on the line. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, and Evil's sitting there. Evil, what a name. He's sitting there, and on comes Jay Leno. And I said, hey, Jay, my good friend, Jay Leno. We're putting him through now. He comes on the line, and I said, Jay, you're very welcome. I'm delighted to have you on my show again. And he goes, Maurice, you're very welcome in my country. I'm delighted to have you here. But do you mind me asking you something, Maurice? And I go, hey, Jay, looking at the audience with their mouths open. You can ask me anything you want. Who the hell are you? Well, the embarrassment. But he kept making the point. I don't know you. Who are you? Who are you phoning me up? And, of course, he was winding me up. And afterwards, of course, not afterwards, but then he calmed down. He said, Mars, I'm only joking. Of course, I remember you when we did the show in Spain. I remember you did the show in Spain. So anyway, those are more or less embarrassing moments that I can remember. But I'll always remember the biggest one of all. And that's Esther Rantzen. I can't remember, to tell you the truth, if I did it, embarrassing moments number one. But here it is again. Many years ago, Esther Rantzen was a guest on my show, and I was delighted because she was a television icon. And don't forget one thing, and don't lose sight of this. My show was a little tiny, weeny little show in Marbella. But I used to always dress as the biggest show in Europe. And of course, these stars never, or the management never argued with me. They believed me. So I used to get some very big names in the show. You couldn't get bigger than Jay Leno. For example, when it comes to entertainment, I had Margaret Thatcher. I had David Cameron. Yes, David Cameron. He was up in Rhondda. I had him on my show. But this one was the most embarrassing moment. Esther Rantzen. I was so proud to have her on my show because I go back a long time watching Esther Rantzen on television. I think it was called That's Life was one of our programs and all these things. Anyway, so she's on the show. Research is the key to a good radio. You know, I listen to radio talk, well, I'm not sure the talk show hosts nowadays, and the research is awful. It's all the obvious. And that's not what research is all about. It's try to dig down and find stuff that's not so obvious to bring up in the conversation. It's not boring. And I found out, and I can't remember how high profile this was, but I found out that Esther had been in India and she had drank some water from a well. And she ended up in hospital and out of work for about 6 months. She was that ill. Okay? So she's on my show, and I came to this point on my show, and I said, Esther, you were in India not that long ago, and you drank some water, and you ended up with a living orgasm in your stomach. And there was a dead silence. And she goes, orgasm? And I said, didn't you? I thought that you had a living orgasm in your stomach, and that's why you went. And the next minute I heard in the background, Desmond Wilcox, who's Esther's husband, late husband, I should say, saying to her, Esther, who are you talking to about your orgasm? And I began to rumble here. I began to, oh my God, I've used the wrong word. Anyway, we moved on. And afterwards, I think it was Wendy or someone said to me, Morris, you're talking about an organism, not an orgasm. Oh, how embarrassing. A year later, Desmond had died and her stepdaughter had written not such a nice book, including Esther in it. So it's been a terrible year. And I thought when I was doing my research in my papers that I'd use the word the Queen had used when Princess Diana was killed. And I used the word annus horribilis, a horrible year. A bit of Latin. I think it's Latin. And then I thought maybe I won't do that because I don't want to screw up this time when I have Esther on the show. Anyway, we're doing the whole interview and we're talking about the Desmond dying and the book, etc. And it just came out. And Esther, it has been an annus horribilis for you, hasn't it? Well, she burst into laughter. I thought to myself, oh God, what have I done this time? You're talking about my anus now. Last year it was my orgasm, and now it's my anus. Oh God, it's meant to, sorry Esther, it's annus horribilis. He said, I'll forgive you. That was probably my most embarrassing time on radio with Esther. I wrote to Esther today, well, yesterday it was. I sent her an email. you know that she is the one who is got the government to vote on assisted dying or euthanasia, and the bill has been passed part one. And she said on television yesterday, she doesn't do interviews to camera, but this was on recording, that she thought she would never live because, you know, she's dying. She's cancer on level 4, so she's dying and hasn't got much time. And that's why she's pushing this bill through. She's an amazing woman. So I wrote to her and invited her to come and do an interview with me. Let's see what happens. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to speaking to you shortly. Thanks.